Hey guys, this is Mark from Mark Melbourne TV, and I'm just going to go straight into it. So we saw information being circulated around the internet suggesting that the Korean government would be placing a ban on cryptocurrency as a whole. Now this basically implies that the exchanges that the cryptocurrencies are traded on would come to a halt, and the Koreans would no longer be invested in cryptocurrencies, creating panic and basically a bit of a sell-off. Now we later had information clarifying that this wasn't as serious as it was suggested, and that it was more to do with regulating and placing a ban on exchanges that are not willing to cooperate with regulation, and placing stricter KYC or know your customer rules on certain exchanges, and only allowing customers who provide this information to invest. So it's only these exchanges that are being targeted. With that clarification, we have seen the market and its ability to be resilient, bouncing off its lows of around 12,500 and almost as low as 11,500 on Binance, but that was a bit of an outlier. So we're still in a bullish trend. Bitcoin continues to consolidate. We've slowly moved up and consolidated in the 14,000 US price range, which is great. Altcoins have taken a breather. I think this is healthy for the market. It does seem a little bit uneventful compared to the past 2 or 3 weeks, where basically, you know, we had this dopamine hit every time we saw cryptocurrencies hit a new high. So you could refresh your page and literally see your coins and your value go up and up and up. So I think this was not sustainable. We needed a little bit of a pullback, bit of a break, a breather, just to get our senses again. And I think the rest of January and the rest of 2018 is going to be a massive year for cryptocurrency. I think that we will continue to see a lot of Fortune 500 and large conglomerates and multi-national corporations start to incorporate blockchain and Bitcoin into their business structure. So an example of this is seeing KFC in Canada. Now this was only one KFC in the US that was doing this, but it was basically a marketing effort, and you can basically purchase deep fried chicken using Bitcoin. So, you know, the Bitcoin bucket, so to speak. So this was interesting, and I think it's interesting to see someone like KFC, who's not naturally an innovative or tech-based business, to incorporate and also use blockchain to their advantage. So this highlights the amount of awareness and demand and news that is going around Bitcoin at the moment. Another big multinational company is Kodak. So Kodak announced that they will be releasing their own Kodak coin or Kodak blockchain, and this is an effort to basically provide users of Kodak and their infrastructure to help with copyright of images. And also, I guess this could apply to trademarks, copyrights, and that sort of whole industry where creators and artists are trying to protect the value and content that they've created, and also retain as much of the royalties from their own products and sales out of their own content, without having a middleman step in and managers and agents and record labels trying to take a lot of that profit away from them. So a lot of streaming services can be bypassed maybe in the future, and I think that a lot of these creative artists and you know, whether it's media in the form of music, photos, or images, I think we will have new ways to protect and also find ways to generate revenue without having the middlemen in order to find and reach our audience and build our name and brand. So I think that's great. Like Steemit is a good example of this as well. So I'm not going to touch on that too much, but I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Steemit. Something definitely worth looking into. Now, I won't be covering any coins in depth in this video, as there isn't anything particular that I sort of want to touch on. However, in my next video, I will discuss ICO, a coin that I am still very bullish on and I have touched on in my previous videos, but I will do a feature on ICO and why I think it's going to be a massive year for this blockchain. So something else that I wanted to cover was, and this is a bit of a wild card, I think that on Wall Street, there will be a potential for a rise in the crypto market space leading in the second half of January. The reason for this is on January 15th, if you aren't aware, Wall Street bankers will be receiving their bonus, and this is a tradition or something that happens each year roughly at this time. Now they're saying that these bankers are going to receive bonuses larger than they've ever received before, and these bonuses are massive. So we're talking about in excess of $120,000-$130,000 for these bankers. So their salaries are like in, you know, close to 7 figures, and then they've got these bonuses on top as well. So if it's anyone who knows anything about cryptocurrency and the markets, it's these bankers from Wall Street. So these guys will definitely be investing their money and using that money to reinvest into cryptocurrency. And historically, we've seen this time of the year really sort of seen big rises and big gains this time of the year. And you know, it's up to you to decide whether you think that this is because of the bonuses, but I think it's definitely a potential for money to be, you know, injected back into the cryptocurrency markets. So something to look out for. Now, I will just finish on this note. So ICOs is something I want to talk about, and I haven't touched on too often in my videos. So I think ICOs are really, really awesome. So it's something that I haven't really gotten into too heavily. So I haven't really discussed this content too much with you guys. Now, ICOs, the reason why I'm so bullish on ICOs is, think about this, right? So a lot of these big corporations and business ideas that have been really successful, there was no way the average investor like yourself and myself would be able to invest in the early stages. So the barriers to entry for a lot of these corporations were so high because of things like having you know, some of them were only for private investors, and you'd have to be involved in it in order to invest. And the second limitation for a lot of us is there would be a minimum investment of at least $50,000 for tiny, small startups, and then up to $3 million for venture capitalists and angel investors. So this is not the kind of money that most of us would be willing to throw at a project, especially in its early stages where there is high risk. Whereas cryptocurrency has allowed for the transfer of wealth from the rich to your average investor like us, where basically you can invest as little as $50 into a project that might go 100x or, you know, 1,000 times over a couple of years or less. So if you can put in $100 and receive 1,000 times your gains, that's something that was not previously an option to the average investor like yourself and myself. Now, there is still a great amount of risk in ICOs, more so than micro caps and more so than your middle caps and your large caps. And I think you need to do your research, but definitely something worth looking into. And it's always valuable to learn how to actually go about investing in ICO. So it's one thing to know what an ICO is and the idea, but it's another thing to actually participate, just like you did investing in altcoins the first time after buying Bitcoins, or even just buying coins that you've never heard of. So learn how to register for your whitelist, learn how to register for email notifications for when things like crowd sales and like when the public sale comes, and also how you can get involved in pre-sales, whether it means being a community contributor, or if it means applying for the whitelist early on, doing your KYC or know your customer information, which basically requires you to provide your passport or your ID to verify who you are, because some of these ICOs have restrictions and only allow people to purchase from certain countries, and if you reside in a certain country, you may not be eligible for that ICO. So that's one of the reasons, but the biggest reason is just they want to have information from the customers or who's investing in the projects. So this is just a requirement, and they will also require you to provide them with your wallet address, whether it's a ERC20 or Ethereum blockchain where you have to provide your Ethereum address, or if it's a Neo ICO, you might need to provide your Neo address, and so on. So I'll cover this a bit more, but I really think that ICOs are something that is accessible to the average investor like you and me, and something worth looking into. So they are high risk, high reward, and you shouldn't be investing any large amounts of money into it, but it's definitely worth investing small amounts and learning the process. So look into ICOs, as December and January have been massive months for ICOs, and we haven't seen this many projects released at the same time with good hype, good teams, good token distribution. So look into these things. So those three things again: look into token distribution. What is the supply? How many tokens are distributed as bonuses in the early rounds to people who invest? How much of the tokens are kept by the team? What is the hype around it? Find out what the Telegram followers are. Is there a large following? Is there a large following in Reddit? And also, are they posting on Twitter regularly? And then also look at the team. So follow LinkedIn, look at their profile, who the CEO is. Are the people advising them reputable people? Are they from big organizations? Is the team and leading team people who are full-time working on the project, or are they only involved in there and just putting their name? So if they're heavy hitters and they've got a strong background and they're involved in a full-time and they're in this similar industry and they have blockchain experience, even better. So look into this. If you haven't already, check out my other video. Basically, I cover ways you can look at investing into sort of different strategies, portfolio allocation, and I also cover a little bit about looking at teams and token distribution and things like that. So check out that video if you haven't already. Anyway, guys, I thought I'd keep this one fairly sort of general, and I didn't want to sort of focus on anything too specifically, but I think Bitcoin and the crypto space is going to do very well in 2018, and there are plenty of opportunities. So thanks again for watching this video. Like the video, subscribe, and I will be joining you guys again next week.